Nobody ever says a thing about men's bodies. Everybody's happy with it. You know why? Because girls are nice. They don't give a fuck because we see people for who they are. You wear something that's at all revealing and everyone's like, oh, but you didn't want people to sexualize you. You can suck my ass. Brilliant play. I think now that she's like revealing herself, there is a slightly more of an aged adult there. But if she was doing so at 16, 17, 18, like terminally online toxicity is like, that's never going to change. Like that's just how it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to be talking about male body dysmorphia and this viral quote from a Variety interview with Billie Eilish where she said, nobody ever says a thing about men's bodies. If you're muscular, cool. If you're not, cool. If you're rail thin, cool. If you have a dad bod, cool. If you're pudgy, love it. Everybody's happy with it. You know why? Because girls are nice. They don't give a fuck because we see people for who they are. I posted on Instagram this quote and her picture taken from Puberty, I think it's called Puberty. And then the next post was people commenting on my body. These comments took me all of 60 seconds to compile. I imagine over the course of my YouTube career, they're in the thousands. And then of course, my favorite meme ever, fitness community, body dysmorphia, be like, and then there's the diagram of shredded to deaded. Look, my point that I was trying to make here was, yes, men do care a lot about what other men look like. But I do have a bias because I am in the fitness space. It's very interesting. Sometimes I'll step out and, hang out with my friends who know nothing about fitness or don't give a shit about it like I do. And they all think I'm big and jacked. And then I get in here and the opposite is true. That is part of the drill. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at the negative comments, not because I want to be angry, but because I want to discern what are the potential counter arguments here. And personally, I'm not incredibly angry about what she's saying. In fact, I'm probably more empathetic than a lot of people. I just patently disagree with the idea that nobody ever says a thing about men's bodies. That's an absolute statement. It just slipped off her tongue. But the thing is, when you're not attuned to staying away from absolute statements, that is kind of problematic. Like everything I do on this channel has been trained deeply over time to lay out caveats and disclaimers. And that I think is a very responsible way to go about life. I don't want to come here and just bitch about how celebrities are delusional. Their lifestyles are completely different to anything anyone could ever fathom. And so, of course, their opinions on things are going to be swayed and they're going to be different. And they're not terminally online like most of us are in the same way, at least. So this comment says, hey, man, I think the point she tried to make wasn't men don't get their body judged, but men judge other people's body a lot more than women. If that was her point, she did a terrible job saying it, right? Like the point she tried to make wasn't men don't get their body judged. That was literally what she said. Nobody ever says a thing about men's bodies. This like literally exactly what she said. So, maybe I'm missing some context here. So I'm gonna go digging for it. I think I have some other comments. Yeah, this one says, I think you've misunderstood what she's saying. This is more about women commenting on men's bodies the way men comment on women's bodies. There's some other ones that are just like here because they're defending Billie Eilish, which fair enough, fair play. That's your prerogative. So what I'm going to do here now, guys, is actually pull up the interview on Variety. This is titled, Billie Eilish was made for this. Being a woman is just such a war forever. Billie Eilish says, especially being a young woman in the public eye. It's really unfair. I can't even imagine what it was like to have been a superstar at 15 years old. Yeah, it's not a real life. I mean, every time we see child actors and actresses, like they end up getting ruined. Not every time. Most of the time they end up getting ruined from it. This is like a known thing for a long time. These people, especially when kids are developing, it's so harsh to not develop a regular kind of life and schedule. For an adult, it's harsh, but a kid needs to remain kind of innocent, and that innocence is completely stripped away from them. She recalls the weird and upsetting scrutiny she faced in her formative years. Who was she dating? What was her sexuality? Why does she dress like that? And critics question if she was secretly a devil worshiper. This is part of the the deal, right? Like, I'm making this video because when I posted this on Instagram, there was a big response, huge response, one that was like fast and aggressive. So I was like, okay, let's make a YouTube video about it. Essentially, I'm doing exactly what these media companies do as well. They take something small and they run with it, and they don't care. This has happened since like the dawn of the modern era of celebrity, and it sucks. But the reality is there's an opinion here that I disagree with, and that's why I talked about it in the first place. Then they talk about her wearing like mostly oversized shirts and sweatpants, and what was she hiding? And she says, I wasn't trying to have people not sexualize me, but I didn't want people to have access to my body, even visually. I wasn't strong enough and secure enough to show it. I would have been completely devastated if people had said anything. And to be fair, guys, that was a brilliant play. I think now that she's like revealing herself, there's a slightly more of an aged adult there. But if she was doing so at 16, 17, 18, like, I mean, I couldn't even fathom what that would have been like. So it was a smart move. Terminally online toxicity is like, that's never going to change. Like, that's just how it is. I mean, I the more I've come to kind of understand that, the more that I can develop the things in this channel that I really care about, which are just like focusing on self-improvement, focusing on close community improvement and involvement with real life interpersonal things. That's going to make the biggest difference in your life. I think, trying to change and sway the way that these, if people want to call them trolls or whatever, speak, you're just bashing your head against the wall. You wear something that's at all revealing and everyone's like, oh, but you didn't want people to sexualize you. You can suck my ass. I'm literally a being that is sexual sometimes. Fuck you. She's fired up now, the commentary says, launching into a good old-fashioned rant. Nobody ever says a thing about men's bodies, she says. If you're muscular, cool. If you're not, yeah. So you guys know the quote now. So that's the context that I was that I was missing. So the reality is, like, she was fired up, she was emotional, and she said that men don't comment on other men's bodies. And I'm here to say that is unequivocally untrue. If we want to make this argument that men comment on women's bodies more than women comment on women's bodies, I think, like, in my opinion, if I had to guess, I would say that that's probably true, at least as far as things that we can track on the internet. I think men are more likely to comment on videos on women's bodies, whereas a woman, if she had something negative to say, might not comment it. But then again, that's just a theory. That's just an estimation. I don't necessarily know if that is the truth. Look, the reality is this body dysmorphia thing that we're seeing kind of be talked about more and more, especially on the men's side, it is a result of just constant tension on the internet. And then the more that our algorithm kind of narrows us towards this body that may be unattainable or maybe just not realistic for each person, the more that we do that, the more intense it gets and the less of a chance of it ever coming back. And so the one message that I can deliver to you, the one piece of advice that I can hope that you heed, is that it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to change the minds of those who are very aggressively commenting and kind of the vocal minority who are deciding what is fit, unfit, healthy, unhealthy, attractive, or unattractive. It's going to be very, very difficult. So what I would advise you to do is to have low expectations and high standards. One of my favorite mantras on this channel, and it definitely applies here. Don't expect yourself to be accepted by everyone in society. Don't expect yourself to be a 5% body fat because you decided you want to be. What you need is a very high standard of living, a high standard of how you think of yourself and those around you and the opinions of those that think positively around you, right? If you are genuinely saying to yourself, these people are the ones that matter, and they're saying good things about you, you have absolutely nothing to lose. Now, I say this because this is something that I have to do for myself, right? I've explained to you guys why this is kind of the way it is, and part of me wants to say, hey, Billie Eilish, like, suck it up, dude. You're a millionaire. You're objectively attractive, right? Like, you're incredibly successful, incredibly talented, and you have, just millions of fans who adore you. How can you ignore that? But on a much, much smaller scale, I have the same feelings. I understand exactly what she's coming from. It's just that it seems as though there's this delay in in nuance in a lot of celebrities. Like this misandry, this anti-men's sentiment. It's kind of like I personally had thought we had slightly moved past that. And it seems like, oh, here's the delay, and then boom, here's a celebrity diving right into it. What is the further meaning behind saying that men don't comment on men's bodies? They only comment on women's bodies because women are fucking nice, or whatever the quote is there. Like, is that just saying, women are better than men? And if so, like, what's the next step? Like, okay, we ask men to be better. We do all of these things, but we just completely not acknowledge the good men that exist, or the good examples of men, or things like that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the right way to go about this. So again, that's my advice to you guys. I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.